First, we're going to disassemble the Xbox so we can get to the motherboard inside. For this, we will need the 360 unlock kit, and of course all the links to the parts or tools you need will be in a document. And you won't need to use any part of it yet, but the first step you'll need to do is take off this front plate, and to do that you just grab from the bottom of the plate and you kind of just pull it firmly. There's no really trick to it, and you can just set that aside for now. The next part will be taking off these top plastic and bottom plastic pieces, and for that you will need the first unlock tool. You will use these points on the unlock tool, and what you'll notice is if you look deeply, there are little hooks in these holes that you can push with the unlock pins. So what you'll have to do is kind of find these little pins. You'll have to look maybe with a flashlight, or if you know where they are, you can just do it by memory. And you'll have to push them with the unlock tool and they'll unlatch. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. See, they'll just click up and you can just keep pulling the plastic up with it. Alright, so that's one part. You can just set it aside. Same thing for the back, the one on the bottom of the Xbox. You just do the same exact thing. You push in the hole where the plastic tab is. The tabs are gray, so you should be able to see them through the holes. Alright, fairly easy so far. Next, we'll need to take the white plastic cover off the Xbox. So to do that, we'll still need the same tool. You'll need to use this part of the tool, the back side, and what you'll need to do is you'll see on the back where you plug in all your cords, you'll see these nice little tabs, and what you need to do is there's tabs under that, and when you push them down it'll unlock this part of the case. So you'll need to take these and kind of slide them in so that it fits into each one of those holes. So once you get it, just push down. You should push all the tabs down and separate that part of the case. So you'll see that part separated, and that's good. But then this part, you'll need to use the smaller unlock tool to unlock. Same thing, just get them in the tabs, push down, and kind of pull the case apart at the same time. Sometimes you'll hear the tabs snap, sometimes you won't. It's not a big deal as long as they come apart. Alright, so you'll want to make sure that this doesn't come back together accidentally and lock in, because then you'll have to do that step again. So try to keep it pulled apart a little bit. So to take this off, we're going to need to pull these tabs up. You'll see that they're kind of just folded over. You'll either need to use a flat head to push them up or your fingernail. I'll just use my fingernail. But before I do that, you need to take off your warranty sticker. And once you take this off, all bets are off for any warranty you have, so don't take it off if you actually have a warranty. So I'm going to pull these tabs up now and take the case off just with my fingernail. You can use a flathead or any other flat tool if you want. It's up to you. So set that aside too. You don't no longer need that for now. We'll put it back on later. Alright, so now you see we're very close to the motherboard. We need to take this part of the case off, and to do that we're going to have to unscrew some of these screws. Now to do that we will need the blue screwdriver. for this. And the screws we will be unscrewing are flat and silver. So they have a flat top and they are silver. Notice that the other screws are gold. We will not be taking those off yet. We don't need to. We will eventually, but we don't need to right now. So the blue screwdriver, it's very specific. You need to use the blue for these types of screws. So I'll take each one of these screws off. So just the silver screws, put them in, an organized, like a bowl or something, so they don't roll away. They're all the same screw, so you can mix and match them when you put them back on later. It doesn't matter. Alright, so set the screwdriver to the side for just a brief second. Now, all those screws, make sure they're out. Once they are, flip the Xbox so that the white case is facing to the top, and you should just be able to pull that case off, and it should slide off pretty decently easy. Oh, yeah. You'll also need to take this tab off. It's the disc eject button. It's kind of with plastic, kind of just pushed in. All right, so another thing you're gonna have to take out is the eject button, and you'll see here that it's just kind of pushed in with plastic, just kind of snaps in. So what you'll need to do is just pull it out, and it should come out pretty easily. Don't force it or break any of the plastic. You'll need to pop it in later. So once that's out, you can just pull the white case out and set it aside. So now you see the inside of the Xbox, and before we take everything out here, we're going to need to take off the power button. So what you'll need to do is, you'll see this white casing, you'll see the tab on the top. You'll just need to pull up a little, pull on that tab, and the top part should come off, and the whole thing should just fall off. Very easy to do. So that's off. You can set that aside. Next, you'll need to use the red screwdriver. Very specific. You have to use the red screwdriver. And we're going to take off these 3 screws to take the power button board off. All right, so with the red screwdriver, we're going to have to take this power board off, and we're going to have to take these 3 screws off. It must be with the red screwdriver. These 3 screws are all the same, so you don't have to separate them. And I'm just going to take them off. Just set them aside, whatever you want. All right, once that's aside, you can, all the screws are off, you can just pull. You'll see that it's connected right here in the back as a port. Like, you know how you plug in a cord to your computer? It's plugged in like that. So to take it out, you just pull firmly, and it'll just pop out, and you see the port right there. So you have an idea. So we'll set that aside for now. So next, we're going to have to take out this plastic piece. It's for the I'm sorry, not this plastic piece, the DVD drive, and we'll have to take that out along with the fans and this plastic piece. So we're gonna have to unplug the DVD drive from the back. You'll see a black and a white port. We're gonna have to pull each one of those out, and once again, do not force it. Just firmly pull on the cord until there's one out. You can use a flathead maybe for this one too if you need, just to force it out if you need, but try not to be too forceful with the cords. All right, so both of those are unplugged. you'll see that you can just pull it out. Some of them might have tape on them in the front. You see I just broke the tape. That's fine. It's not really a big deal. So set that one aside. And we're also going to need to take the 2 cords off of the motherboard as well. So these were originally connected to the DVD drive, but now we'll also need to take them off the motherboard. So you can set those aside as well too. Okay. Now we can take this plastic piece off. It's kind of has a tab in here, so it's kind of weird to get out sometimes. You can use a flathead or something similar to get it out. I'm going to use a flathead. Try not to break this tab if it's not coming out. It's not really a big deal. You'll eventually get it. But it is one of the most annoying pieces to take off. Alright. So what I did to take it off is I pulled up the plastic piece, and you could see here, you'll be able to see it. So what you can do is just push on it and it'll pop out. That's what I did. It's kind of one of the easiest ways to pop. So with one clip off, I'm just going to continue to do the other clips. So once again, the goal is to get the opposite one off. So we'll push towards this pin and hope that that one pops off. And then once you get 2 off, you can just pull it off. The X clamp. Same thing with this one. We're just going to push towards the clip. And if one doesn't work, you move to the next. And if that one doesn't work, you move to another one. And just keep relieving the stress on the X clamps until one of them eventually pops off. There you go. There you go. Should be able to pull this one off. If you can't pull it off, just kind of use a tool to get around the pins, and because you don't need these X clamps anymore, so you can bend them and destroy them. It doesn't really matter. They're being completely replaced. So with the X clamps off, you'll notice that the heat sinks come off, which is what we wanted. And you'll see a little bit of the thermal gunk on it, and you'll see it on the processors as well. We will need to clean that completely. And that is what the Q-tips are for, to get on these processors and clean it. And to clean it, you'll either want to use, preferably, if you have it, isopropyl alcohol, and just put that on a cotton swab or a Q-tip and just kind of clean until the chips are shining. There's no more thermal gunk. And then for these, you can just put it on a paper towel and rub on the thermal gunk until it's all gone. So I don't have any isopropyl with me, and I'm going to use WD-40. So I'm going to take these outside, and I will do those with WD-40. I'm going to clean the heat sinks with some WD-40. You want to get all of this thermal gunk off of the heat sink. Thank you. You can use a paper towel, just spray some WD-40 on and just take all the thermal. So I'm going to do that on both heat sinks, and there's nothing more to see about that. So you can see how clean I got the heat sinks. That's how clean you want to get them. So make sure you just keep applying isopropyl or WD-40 to the heat sinks and get all the thermal off. Alright, so now we got to get the thermal gunk off the processor and the video chip. So we're going to use Q-tips for that. And what I'm going to do is spray some WD-40 on the Q-tip. From there, you want to make sure these are really important to get clean. So spend a little more time on these. You can't get it 100% clean ever, so just get it the best you can get it, you know? Or maybe you don't know. So just use a couple Q-tips, get them clean like that. You want them shiny, and you gotta dry them, of course. So what we will be doing eventually is applying new thermal paste. That's why we want it as clean as possible. So you can see that shine that it has. That's what you're aiming for, to get it like that. And it doesn't need to be perfect, of course, just good enough. So I think that's in the good enough range right now. I'm not going to spend too much time doing that. So I'm going to move on to the next chip now. You don't have to worry too much about the gunk around the processor. It's the gunk that's on it, the thermal on it. So that should be your main focus. And that looks pretty clean. So I think I'm gonna dry that one. So you can see the shine on that one. It's pretty good, I would say. Let's see here. Yeah, it should be good enough. So yeah, just a couple Q-tips. Put some WD-40 on the Q-tips and or isopropyl, whatever. Isopropyl works much better, but I just didn't have any on hand. So I use WD-40 instead, and it works pretty well. So just make sure you get the chips all dried up pretty decently. It doesn't have to be perfect because you will be doing the heat gun technique next to reflow the Xbox, so you don't have to get them perfectly dry. Alright, so that's kind of what you want to do for the cleaning up process, and we will do the heat gun next. So once all the thermal paste is cleaned off of the heat sinks and the board, we're going to start to take out these the X-clamp brackets off the heat sinks, because we're going to replace them with screws, or with bolts, I'm sorry. So you'll see they're kind of like they got a nice little where you can fit a wrench into. So I'm just going to use pliers just to turn them and take them off. They're kind of tightly. You can just stop it. Alright, so we're going to need to take the brackets off the other heat sink as well, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so now we're going to do the heat gun technique on the Xbox. I have the Wagner heat gun, and it has 2 modes, 2 temperatures, 750 on the low, 1000 on the high Fahrenheit. So you don't have to get this exact gun, but try to get one with similar temperatures. It doesn't really matter what brand you get, to be honest with you. So first we're going to do, on the back of the Xbox, we're going to do 1 minute on low, so 750 degrees Fahrenheit. And I just propped it on the metal case, and I just set it over. So what I'm going to do right now, do it about a fist length away. I'm going to do 1 minute on low. It's easy for you to find the bad stuff. So I will do that right now. My timer. You just want to move the heat gun around a lot and get every single part of the board you can. Get the little RAM chips, these 4 chips right here. The timing is not really crucial on this. If you go, like 1 minute over, it's not like a big deal. So. Alright, so now I'm going to do the front. It's going to be 4 minutes on high. And what you want to do is you don't want to heat these capacitors. So what you're going to do is kind of wave it around over here. Focus on the chips. And try not to get these capacitors too much or they may explode. So just, heat up the chips. And I'm going to do it 4 minutes on high. So make sure my timer, give me 10 more seconds. You'll notice how I just switched to each chip. And I will start right now. So this is at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So notice how I only get the processors. Make sure you're always moving it around. Don't focus too long on one thing or you may mess up the chip. So. I'm sure you know this, but when you're done, try not to touch the heat gun, the tip of the heat gun, or you'll just burn your hand. Common sense, I know, but I've had people go, oh, what if I touch it?
Alright, Jordan, here. You want the camera?
It's only a minute.
I gotta finish that.
Alright, we switched cameramen, so your experience will now be better because I like this guy better. What I'm going to do is when I hit the 4 minute mark, I'm going to switch to low, and that's just going to bring down the temperature of the board a little bit quicker. So once I hit that 4 minute mark, I will do that. Not quite there yet. Alright, it's been about 4 minutes, so I'm going to switch to low now and kind of bring the temperature of the board down. Just very quickly. Don't have to time this or anything. Do that for about a minute. Alright, so now that we're done with the heat gun technique, you're going to want to let the Xbox sit. Don't touch it at all. Sit for 30 minutes at least before you do the next step of the repair. So I'm just going to go and let it sit for 30 minutes and we'll be back. Just make sure you don't burn in your fingers or anything. Alright. So next we're going to need to put the heat sinks back on the Xbox. So what we're going to have to do is open our package of bolts, washers. Get a knife, Joel. It does work. There we go. Alright, so you should have 8 bolts, 8 metal washers, and 8 nylon washers. So I took the Allen wrench out of the bag too. So what we're gonna have to do is put these heat sinks back on the Xbox with the bolts though instead of X clamps. You're also gonna need to open this package, by the way. We're gonna set aside everything in there except for the thermal paste, which we're gonna use right now. So what I'm gonna do is just apply thermal paste to the 3 chips, kind of just equally. You're gonna end up using the whole thing. So just, even if you think you got it covered, just use the whole thing. Alright, that looks like all of it. Okay. So now we're going to put these back on. So the way they go orientation wise, this one goes on like this. And then this one should go on like this. So for simplicity, I think I'm going to do this one first. So it'll end up going on like that. So the way I'm going to do this is kind of put the board at a 90-degree angle with the table. And I'm going to put in each bolt. Now it goes nylon and then a metal washer. So you put in the nylon first. So the nylon washers first. And then the metal washers after the nylon. Oops, I put them metal in there. So everyone has their own little special ways of trying to get these on without the washers and falling out. This is just the way I do it. So what I'm going to do, it goes on like this. So pretty sure, yeah, it does. So I just kind of like screw them in as it gets closer. I'm screwing it in with my hand, not the Allen wrench. So. Alright, looks like I got.
People were talking about snow days today.
So I just hand screw those in just to make sure that the washers wouldn't fall out. So I'm gonna use the Allen wrench on the back a little bit. What's wrong? So once they're screwed in by hand, you can just use the Allen wrench to sort of tighten them up. So don't get them super tight yet, just kind of get them enough where you don't have to keep turning. We'll make them super tight in a second.
Making good clinical statements.
All right, so once they're all decently, tight, what you want to do is super tight them diagonally. So kind of do tighten this one, tighten that one, tighten this one, then tighten that one. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, heat sink's done now. So I'm gonna put on this one now. Same process as before. So you would go on like this, I believe.
It's more ass than food.
Yeah, it would.
I've heard him feel low-key.
Just use the same method as before.
All this stuff, it's drama. I dated this girl for 2 years.
2-year mistake?
Yeah.
Come on, Joel.
Alex is better.
What's his next?
Yeah, she lived right next door, though, so it was very convenient. And I could just sleep over there.
Oh. Oh yeah, I remember that.
take pictures like this.
It's all.
It is teeth check. Teeth change.
Guess who doesn't know?
Okay. Okay, so I'm just continuing to. So I'm just using the same method as before.
So even at age 17 in Bloomfield, you bleach your teeth. Because after 17 years of using your teeth, they're stained.
He's a girl. He's a girl.
Ryan, what do you want to learn today?
I want to
Magic.
a conspiracy theory.
You're not pull a rabbit out of my butt.
Or alien.
Aliens.
That's special.
That's not technology.
It could be. What are we gonna do when they come and visit?
What are we going to do when they come and visit?
We're gonna have to use technology.
Should we prepare beds for them?
What they want our planet for resources.
So almost done hand screwing it from the back. That'll keep these heat sink in. So I'm gonna kind of this one was kind of messed up. Just get them moderately tight, not too tight. Same thing as before. Alright, so I'm gonna do the same thing. Tighten the ones diagonal. They are pretty tight. Very funny.
Wait, Matt, did I tell you I wrote my philosophy paper on the technological advances and their effects on philosophical beliefs?
Yeah, with singularity.
I talked about Ray Kurzweil a lot because his quotes were metaphysically accessible.
Alright, so while we're on the back of the Xbox, you're going to want to open up this part of the package. These are thermal heat pads that we're going to put on the RAM chips.
And Matt, I more talked about Moore's Law because that pertained to what I was arguing more than singularity.
So,
We should watch Singularity Buff.
what I'm going to do
I know.
is take each pad and put it on these 4 RAM chips. There's 4 pads, 4 chips. They're squares, so it doesn't matter what way you put them on. Just make sure they're stuck on pretty well. If you had thermal pads on your Xbox, then just take those off. You don't need them anymore. These are much better. Alright, so I'm going to flip it back over. Next, we got to put these 2 heat sinks on these chips. Not sure what chips they are, but it's not very important. So you want to orientate them like this on each one. So I'm just going to take off the cover for the adhesive and stick them on. Same thing with this one. All right. Those are good. So that should do it there. Now we're gonna put some stuff back into the case, and we're gonna do a bake. We're gonna bake the Xbox per se. So I'm gonna put it back in. Oops. You want to make sure nothing's sticking out. There we go. All right. So once everything's back in, you can start putting the screws back. So these are the gold screws that you took out earlier. And it's kind of obvious where they go, because wherever there's a hole, you put the screw in.
Hey, I got something for you.
Are we finishing that movie?
You want to say hi?
Oh, I got something.
Say hi to the camera.
I got something for you. More here.
No screw, nothing. I looked away at the screen.
With the idea of living forever, there's a lot of neat fiction coming out about our future. And this one is basically called The Last Generation to Die. And it's about what will happen when you live forever and the last group of people dies. Because after this last group of people dies, nobody will die. Trying to raise money.
Why'd you turn that on?
I didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
Cody and I have worked together on many projects.
Oh, it was automatic. All right. So got all the screws in on the back for the motherboard. So now I'm gonna put in the normal stuff like the fan. I'm not gonna plug the fan in, not yet, because we have to do the baking trick.
We are also
So.
shooting on RROD 4K, so we are feature-proofing our feature film. The visual effects of this film are going to be a core part. As a VFX artist,
Put these cables back in.
Challenges and how to effectively shoot for the best result. With this film, we want to show you some glimpses of the future and have scenes through your eyes as you explore this world. To do that on an empty budget, we will use locations
Okay,
already
so now I'm gonna put the DVD drive back in.
and subtly add them with unique production design and visual effects work in post. 2013 is a rapidly developing technology that will undoubtedly be a part of our future. We want to incorporate it in both the making of the film and the actual story itself in an interesting way. We will be making some 3D printed props to give the film a very unique, one-of-a-kind look. With one of our rewards, you can also get your own 3D printed model of the DNA helix from the company logo in the film. There's a lot of expenses in making the film.
Alright, DVD drive is in. So notice I'm not plugging in the fan yet. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna plug in the I'm gonna screw in the long screws. Yeah, so I'm gonna do that first. You're gonna kind of have to hold stuff so it doesn't fall out. Or wait, that's not gonna
So
work.
this is their
I'm
kick.
sorry. Let me put in this first. The power button.
Joel, how much of Singularity or Bus have you seen? I don't know.
But yeah, the reason that won't work is I have to put the case on first. That was a stupid thing
You
by
weren't
me.
here that day?
Oh yeah, this guy, the guy with the hand motions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hippie.
I remember this. Yeah.
So screw this back in with a red screwdriver.
How far did we get in?
45 minutes.
It was like right before we were able to see the new guy.
Yeah, we didn't meet the new.
Alright, so we're gonna do the bake trick. What that means is once everything's put back together, we're actually gonna plug in the Xbox and we're not going to have the fan plugged in, so it's going to overheat after a certain amount of time. The lights, there will be 2 flashing red lights here, and this first time you power it on, the Xbox may or may not work. It doesn't matter. It's after this baking trick. That's the big deal. So you got to do this first. So plug in the power. Plug in the video. You need the video.
Why was that labeled
And
sub?
I'm gonna turn it on. All right, that looked like it worked. Not getting anything on the projector. There we go. So as you can see, this repair worked pre-bake, which means that you did it pretty well. So I'm just gonna let it die out with the 2 red lights here. So I'm just gonna let it do that. Once you've done the baking technique and you got the 2 red rings, you unplug the Xbox. And now that that's done, we gotta plug back in the fan. So don't forget to do that. So that's all I'm gonna do right here is just plug back the fan into its port. If I can reach it. Alright, that's back. So now that that's done, everything's back in the Xbox. We can start putting it back together. So let's see here. Yeah, this one goes. So the one with the metal casing goes right on top here. And make sure it's completely pushed down. And now we'll put these silver screws back on. So use the blue screwdriver for that. Do not worry about the X-clamp screws because you can throw those out because we replaced those earlier. So they're no longer needed. So it's a tough screw. Alright, so with all the screws back in, I don't know if you forgot about this, but you're going to have to put your eject button back on the Xbox. So it literally just pushes in this part, this plastic part. You just push the plastic in, and then you can, you know, it'll be back on now. So make sure that goes in correctly so you don't have to take your Xbox apart again. So it should click just like normal. So that means you put it back on right. And now I'm just going to put on the other side of the case. Should go like this. And there's really no special way to do that. You can just kind of just get all the tabs to push back in. Same with the back, you just push everything back in. Everything should just click back together. All right, that looks good to me. Double check that the ports are coming out. Yep, everything is good there. All right, so now I'm gonna put back the top plastic pieces. So this one goes on the top. It goes this way though. It goes the way where this little notch is facing out. And the one with the hole goes in the bottom of the Xbox. That's where you put your hard drive. That's just click in, and then just put the plastic piece on, and there it is, repaired Xbox.